Have you ever sat down quietly and asked yourself, why do I feel this distance from my own children? You spent your life raising them, giving your time, your energy, your love, and sometimes even more than you had to give. You worked hard, stayed up through the nights, sacrificed your own needs so they could have a better life. And now, at this stage in life, instead of comfort and respect, many parents are left with confusion, silence, or even harsh words. This is something people don't like to talk about, but it's real. The heartbreak of being mistreated, dismissed, or made to feel like a burden by your own children is one of the deepest pains a parent can carry. And if you've felt it, you know how heavy it can be. It makes you wonder, did I fail somewhere? Did I do too much or not enough? But the truth is, giving love does not always guarantee gratitude. Being a good parent does not always mean your child will treat you well as an adult. That's why this conversation matters. Not to blame, not to dwell in bitterness, but to remind you of your dignity. You deserve peace, not guilt. You deserve respect, not ridicule. And sometimes, that means recognizing the words and behaviors that are not just disagreements, but deep wounds you cannot keep accepting. So today, we're going to talk about 5 things adult children sometimes say that no parent should tolerate. If you've ever heard even one of these, it may be time to protect yourself, to step back, and to choose your peace. And before I begin, I'd like to know, have you ever been on the receiving end of hurtful words from your own child? If you feel comfortable, share your story in the comments. You never know who else might find strength in your experience. Point 1. When your child says, you need to respect my boundaries. Even if that means I don't talk to you. Now let's be clear. Boundaries are important. Every healthy relationship needs them, even between parents and adult children. But there's a difference between a boundary that protects peace and a wall that punishes. When your child uses the word boundaries to completely shut you out, to give you the silent treatment for weeks or months, or to refuse even basic communication, that's not a boundary. That's abandonment, disguised in polite language. It's okay if your child needs space sometimes. Maybe there was a disagreement, maybe they're under stress, or maybe they simply need time to breathe. That's normal, and respecting that space is part of being a loving parent. But when boundaries are used as a weapon, cutting you off whenever you say something they don't like, keeping you on edge, making you afraid to speak honestly, that is not healthy. That's emotional control. The hardest part is that they may even convince others, friends, spouses, even therapists, that this is about self-care or protecting their mental health. And while protecting their peace matters, so does protecting yours. You are left waiting by the phone, replaying every word of the last conversation, wondering what you did wrong, carrying guilt that was never yours to begin with. Let me tell you this with all the strength in my heart, you are not a villain. You are not unworthy of love. If someone uses boundaries as a sword to cut you out, you are allowed to put down your guilt and protect yourself. Respect their space if they ask for it, but don't let them convince you that silence and punishment are your fault. Sometimes they need to step away to find themselves. And sometimes, you need to step away to remember who you are. Point 2. When your child says, you're lucky I even talked to you. This one stings in a very different way. Because hidden inside those words is a message that says, your place in my life is optional. You should be grateful for whatever little I give you. Imagine that, you raised them, you were there for their first steps, their school days, their struggles, their victories. And now, suddenly, a 5-minute phone call or a short text message is presented to you as if it's a gift, like crumbs you should be thankful for. When a child says this, whether directly or with their actions, it puts you in a position of begging for their attention. It makes you feel like you have to walk on eggshells just to keep that fragile connection alive. And that is not love, it's emotional control. Relationships are not supposed to make you feel like a burden or a beggar. You are their parent. You gave them life, and that will always matter. Respect should be a two-way street, no matter how busy life gets, no matter how many responsibilities they carry. A healthy adult child understands that a simple phone call, a visit, or even just kind words are not favors, they're part of maintaining a relationship built on love and respect. So if your child makes you feel lucky just to be remembered, I want you to stop and ask yourself a hard question: what am I really getting from this relationship? If the answer is stress, shame, and sorrow, then it's not a relationship, it's emotional blackmail. You are not lucky they talk to you. They are lucky to still have you here, with your wisdom, your love, your stories, your presence. Don't settle for crumbs when you deserve a seat at the table of respect. Point 3. When your child says, "I didn't ask to be born." This is one of the most painful sentences a parent can ever hear, especially from an adult child. At first, it might sound like something a teenager would say in frustration. But when it comes from a grown son or daughter, someone who has a career, a family, or responsibilities of their own, it cuts like a knife. What they are really saying is, everything you gave me doesn't matter, because I never wanted to be here. And that's not just hurtful, it's deeply unfair. You see, parenting was never about creating a debt your children had to repay. It was about love. You gave them shelter, food, safety, and a future because that's what a parent does. You weren't keeping score, you were giving from your heart. So when a child throws this phrase back at you, it turns all of that sacrifice into something meaningless. And that's not only ungrateful, it's emotionally abusive. The hidden message behind, "I didn't ask to be born," is that you somehow owe them forever, just because you brought them into the world. But here's the truth, you don't owe them a lifetime of guilt. You already gave them what they needed most: your love, your care, your sleepless nights, your sacrifices. You did your part. So if your child says this to you, you don't need to defend yourself or explain your heart. You don't need to argue or beg them to see the truth. The best thing you can do is protect your peace. Step back and remember, you are not a villain, and you are not responsible for carrying their bitterness. If they cannot respect your love, then for your own dignity, you must choose distance. Point 4. When your child says, "You're too sensitive." At first, this phrase might sound small, even like a joke. But when it comes from your own child, especially during a serious or painful conversation, it can feel like a slap in the face. Because in that moment, you're not being too sensitive, you're being human. You're expressing a real hurt, reaching out with honesty, hoping to be understood. And instead of compassion, you're brushed aside, made to feel weak or unreasonable. "You're too sensitive" is a way of turning the problem back on you. Instead of owning their harsh words or cold behavior, they make it about your emotions. Suddenly, you're no longer hurt because they were cruel, you're hurt because you're supposedly overreacting. That's not love, and it's not respect. It's deflection, pure and simple. Think about everything you've been through in your life. Many of you have survived hardships, losses, sacrifices, and challenges that your children will never fully understand. You are not weak. You are not fragile. If anything, you are strong because you still have the courage to speak up about what hurts you. And anyone who truly loves and respects you will lean in, listen, and care when you open your heart. So the next time you hear, "You're too sensitive," I want you to pause and remind yourself of this: your feelings are valid. Your voice matters. Your pain is real. And if someone, even your own child, tries to dismiss your heart, that says more about their lack of maturity than about your worth. You don't have to argue. You don't have to beg to be heard. If they refuse to see your feelings as important, that's their limitation, not yours. Never let anyone shame you for being human, especially not the very people you once gave everything to. Point 5. When your child says, "You've had your life, now let me live mine." This phrase may sound logical on the surface, but beneath it is one of the coldest dismissals a parent can hear. It suggests that your time is over, that your role no longer matters, and that your very presence is an intrusion. It reduces all your years of sacrifice, love, and care into something with an expiration date, as if once your children grew up, your importance as a parent ended too. But love doesn't work like that. Respect doesn't work like that. Raising a child doesn't come with a clock that suddenly runs out once they become adults. If anything, adulthood should deepen gratitude. It should bring more awareness of what it truly cost you, financially, physically, emotionally, to give them the life they now live. To dismiss you with, "You've had your life," is not maturity, it's avoidance. Often, this phrase is used to escape responsibility. It's a way of saying, "Don't expect anything from me. Don't remind me of what I owe." But the truth is, you are not asking for control. You are asking for respect, for kindness, for a relationship that recognizes your humanity. That's not too much, it's the least every parent deserves. So when you hear, "You've had your life, now let me live mine," I want you to remember something powerful: you are not in the way. You are not a relic from the past. You are still here, still valuable, still filled with wisdom and love that the world, and your children, should honor. If your child cannot see that, you do not need to keep proving it. You can love them from a distance. You can let them go without letting go of yourself. Because your life is not over. Your story is not finished. And you are not disposable, ever. Point 6. When your child says, "You owe me." This phrase might not always be spoken directly, but sometimes it's hidden in their tone, their demands, or the way they treat you. It's the unspoken message that because you are their parent, you will always be expected to give, whether it's money, time, energy, or endless patience, without limits. And when they say, "You owe me," either with words or with actions, it places a burden on your shoulders that no parent should carry forever. Let's be clear, raising children is a responsibility, yes. You owed them love, safety, food, guidance, and opportunities while they were growing up, and you gave that. You did your job. But once they become adults, the relationship should shift. It should become about mutual respect, not lifelong debt. You do not owe them your retirement savings. You do not owe them your health, your last bit of energy, or your peace. What you deserve is gratitude, not demands. When a child holds this over you, it becomes a trap. It makes you feel guilty for saying no, even when saying yes would hurt you. And guilt is not the foundation of love. True love is free, it's given with joy, not out of fear, pressure, or obligation. So the next time you hear, or sense, that message of, "You owe me," I want you to remember something: you don't. You've already paid that debt 1,000 times over with sleepless nights, long hours of work, countless sacrifices, and decades of unconditional love. The rest of your life is not about owing, it's about living. You deserve to spend these years in peace, not in repayment. And if someone cannot see that, it's time to release the guilt and choose yourself. Because you've already given enough, and more. Point 7. When your child says, "You're holding me back." This one hurts in a very different way. When an adult child tells you, "You're holding me back," it carries the heavy message that somehow your existence, your needs, or even your love is a burden to their life. It's as if they are saying, "I could do more, be more, live more, if only you weren't in the way." For a parent who spent decades giving wings to their children's dreams, hearing this feels like a cruel reversal. But let's pause and look at the truth. You are not holding anyone back. You raised them to stand on their own feet, and now they are adults with the freedom to make their own choices. If they are struggling, that's part of life, not your fault. If they feel pressure, that may be from their own responsibilities, not because you asked for a phone call or a little help now and then. The deeper problem with this phrase is that it makes you feel guilty for simply existing, for being older, for needing care, for wanting connection. But aging is not a crime, and needing love is not a weakness. Your presence in their life is not an obstacle, it's a gift. The wisdom, history, and unconditional love you carry are things they cannot find anywhere else. So if you ever hear, "You're holding me back," I want you to remind yourself, no, I am not a burden. I am a blessing. You are not stopping them from living, they are choosing to see you as an inconvenience rather than as family. That choice is theirs, not yours. You do not need to shrink yourself to make room for someone who refuses to honor you. Your worth does not decrease because someone else refuses to see it. My friend, I know this hasn't been an easy conversation. To sit and think about words like, I didn't ask to be born, you're lucky I even talked to you, respect my boundaries even if I don't talk to you, you're too sensitive, you've had your life, let me live mine, you owe me, or, you're holding me back, these aren't just phrases. They are wounds. And when they come from the very children you carried, protected, and loved with your whole being, the hurt runs deeper than almost anything else in life. But here's what I want you to carry with you. These words do not define your worth. You are not weak, you are not a burden, and you are not disposable. You are a survivor, a provider, a source of wisdom, and a living reminder of what strength really looks like. If your children choose to use these words, that reflects their growth, not your failure. For too long, many parents have been told to endure, to keep forgiving no matter the cost, to keep giving until there's nothing left. But peace matters more than appearances. Dignity matters more than tradition. And at this stage of life, your peace should come first. Walking away, or even just creating distance, does not mean you've stopped loving your children. It simply means you've chosen to love yourself, too. It means you no longer accept mistreatment as the price of staying connected. That's not selfish, it's self-respect. So take a deep breath. Release the guilt that isn't yours. Let go of the belief that you must beg to be loved. Surround yourself with people and places that remind you of your value. Because you are not finished, you still have life to live, laughter to share, and peace to enjoy. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced any of these painful phrases from your own child? If you feel comfortable, share your story in the comments. Your voice matters, and you may give hope to someone else walking the same road. Remember, your age makes you rare, your experiences make you wise, and your presence still matters. Never apologize for protecting your peace.